Do I think she made some mistakes along the way? I do. She made quite a few mistakes along the way.
She strutted out with a bright smile, but boom, just seconds later, that smile was gone.
She should have given that role to someone who really understands that character and loves that character.
The second Rachel Zegler hit the stage, the whole vibe flipped, and not in a good way.
And I feel like, especially with people like this that have like these types of viewpoints, I don't see her coming back from this at all. I think she is totally cooked with this.
This wasn't some fancy red carpet or a staged press gig. This was raw, real, and happening live. The crowd wasn't there to clap. Oh no, what hit her was a cold wave of loud, rising boos.
Well, we're busy, of course. Vita opens at the Palladium this summer, so we're collaborating with Jamie Lloyd again following Sunset Boulevard. Well, Rachel was desperate to play Eva Perron. You know, it was her idea, and we saw an audition tape, and she was absolutely sensational. You know, she worked with our musical supervisor in New York on the material. Her versions of the songs were terrific. Jamie's excited, Andrew and Tim are excited. So, I mean, it should make for a fabulous summer at the Palladium. Ticket sales are already, you know, through the roof. So we're really thrilled about that.
You could hear it clearly, no filter, and it just kept getting louder. People who were there say her face dropped in an instant. Her eyes got huge, her hands shook, and then,
I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities I have when I say that this has been the biggest adjustment of my life, like understanding the way my life operates now, being who I am, and the things that I've been so fortunate to make. It comes with so much ground that I never thought I would be able to cover, and that people think I'm doing poorly, and other people think I'm doing gracefully, and I don't think I'm doing it at all.
bam! She broke down right there in front of cameras flashing and shocked fans. Rachel Zegler lost it. But this wasn't just a rough night out. Oh no. This was the moment everything came crashing down. A storm had been brewing behind the scenes for months, maybe even years.
What you see with Zegler is really just a pretty common Gen Z mentality and approach to work. She believes that she should be able to express herself and speak her truth or whatever nonsense, regardless of the consequences to everybody else. In reality, you have a job. You're getting paid to do this job. You signed on the dotted line. You took on the role. And that job comes with certain basic responsibilities. And one of the most basic is the responsibility to control yourself and comport yourself a certain way publicly so that you don't harm the project, thereby harm all the hundreds of other people who are working on it.
Falling from being Hollywood's golden girl to becoming the most booed woman in Disney's modern history didn't happen in one day. It was a slow collapse, hidden under glitzy events and fake smiles, and it all built up to this brutal moment that left even her biggest haters stunned. And if you want to keep up with all the biggest celebrity rises and falls, don't miss a beat. Hit that subscribe button now for more right here on Fame Feast.
Honestly, girl boss narratives suck. They are either overpowered, poorly written, forced down the audience's throat, and it just looks like I'm staring at TikTok modern women posts that always talk about men are trash, men are this, men are that. They finally got the opportunity to do that, especially with this buffoon right here. I still don't know why she's still alive. And before you start saying I'm sexist, here are some well-written female characters. This woman right here is way better. So is she. And her too. Man, I love this girl, honestly. She couldn't fit in the background, but Debbie is definitely number one.
But how did it get this bad? What made fans snap and turn on her so hard and so publicly? And what happened next, after the tears dried up, left everyone in shock? Not long ago, Rachel Zegler was it, the shining face of Hollywood's future. Steven Spielberg handpicked her to star in West Side Story. Disney crowned her their next live-action princess. The hype was massive. She was called a breakout star, talented, full of charisma, and unstoppable. Her first big performance even scored her a Golden Globe. Overnight, she went from a total unknown to one of the hottest names in town. Studio execs raved about her range. Critics called her the next big thing. For a minute, it looked like nothing could touch her. But behind all that applause, things were already starting to crack. Whispers from industry insiders told a different story. Behind the scenes, tension. Sure, she was young, but untested. And as her fame shot through the roof, so did her voice online. Rachel wasn't just acting, she was talking, and fans were listening. She called classic Disney stories weird, tossed out decades of beloved storytelling with snarky one-liners. Instead of winning hearts, she built a rep for mockery, not humility. Her interviews meant to hype up her projects. They blew up, but not the way she wanted. Memes spread like wildfire. Comment sections turned nasty fast. The very fans she was supposed to lead into Disney's new era, they started turning their backs. What once looked like a meteoric rise was starting to feel like a ticking countdown, and nobody knew when it would hit 0. Everything came crashing down with Snow White. What should have been Rachel Zegler's biggest moment, her crowning achievement, turned into an all-out public relations disaster. Instead of celebrating the magic of this beloved classic, Zegler came off straight-up annoyed by it. She called the original film creepy, mocked the prince as a stalker, and flat-out bragged that her version of Snow White would be nothing like the original. Maybe she thought she was sounding modern, progressive, and empowered, but to millions of fans, it sounded smug, disrespectful, and totally out of touch. Die-hard Disney fans felt betrayed. Younger fans who wanted a magical, fresh take were left confused, even turned off. And conservative voices? Oh, they had a field day. Commentators painted Zegler as the poster child for everything wrong with so-called woke Hollywood. Clips from her interviews blew up online for all the wrong reasons. Hashtags started trending. Boycotts were announced. Fans were demanding the entire movie be scrapped. And worst of all, when the backlash hit, Zegler didn't take a step back. She doubled down. That only cranked the heat higher. What started as disappointment exploded into open hostility. Her name stopped trending with words like trailblazer and started popping up next to ungrateful and arrogant. Public opinion flipped in a snap. Zegler wasn't the girl with the golden voice anymore. She was the villain, rewriting fairy tales that nobody asked her to change. And this was just the start. Behind the scenes, it was getting even messier. As the backlash swelled, insiders started spilling the tea, and what they shared made it way worse, according to multiple alleged sources. Working with Rachel Zegler on the set of Snow White? Yeah, it was no fairy tale. Rumors started swirling fast about her attitude toward crew members and co-stars. Whispers of diva behavior spread. Tension during rewrites, arguments over creative direction, started leaking out everywhere. Some claimed she straight up demanded script changes to match her personal beliefs. Others said she clashed hard with costume designers about how her character should look. But the real tipping point, that came when reports surfaced from her rehearsals for Aveda. This was supposed to be her bold leap into the Broadway world, but behind the scenes, it allegedly turned into chaos. Leaked comments from people close to the production painted Zegler as impossible to direct, totally obsessed with control. One source reportedly said, "It's like walking on eggshells around her. She has to be the smartest person in the room, or she makes you pay for it." And these weren't just random internet trolls. No way! These were industry pros, folks with decades of experience, raising serious red flags. And just like that, the story flipped hard. Rachel Zegler wasn't seen as a misunderstood young artist anymore. Now, she was seen as the problem. With every new allegation, her image crumbled even further. Fans started asking, was this about one bad role? Or was there a pattern here? That suspicion hit full force when she stepped on stage and faced something no actor ever wants to hear. This was supposed to be her big comeback moment, a carefully planned appearance at a fan expo in Los Angeles. Rachel was supposed to speak openly about her journey, answer easy questions, and win back the public. Her team had reportedly worked for weeks prepping this event, but what happened next? Nobody saw coming. Tight security, pre-approved talking points, even a controlled Q&A segment. But none of that could stop what happened the second Rachel Zegler walked on that stage. At first, just silence. Then a faint murmur. And then, the boos started. Low at first, scattered, but unmistakable. Like a ripple through a still lake, it spread fast. More voices joined in, louder, angrier. One person shouted, "Not my Snow White!" Another yelled, "Go back to Broadway!" Cameras were already rolling. Zegler froze. Her smile flickered, and then disappeared completely. You could see it in her eyes, the disbelief, the panic. She tried to speak, but the words just didn't land. The crowd wasn't listening. They were venting, cheering her downfall in real time. And then it happened. Her voice cracked. She looked down, hands visibly shaking, trying so hard to keep it together. But she couldn't. The actress who once stood tall before millions, she crumbled on that stage. Tears welled up, mascara running. She could barely get a full sentence out before stepping back behind the curtain. The footage, it exploded online within minutes. Rachel Zegler Live was trending before the event even ended. What was meant to be her big comeback, it became the most humiliating moment of her career. But what followed? Oh, that was even worse. As the dust settled, folks started wondering, was the whole thing staged? Right after footage of Zegler's breakdown hit the net, something strange started happening. Hours later, clips began disappearing. Original videos were getting yanked for copyright violations. Some fan accounts claimed they got shadow banned after posting the footage. Others said comments critical of Zegler were mysteriously vanishing from official event pages. And just like that, the controversy reached a whole new level. Within 24 hours, her team dropped a vague statement, thanking fans for their continued support and calling that emotional meltdown a powerful example of artistic vulnerability. But the public wasn't buying it. The timing felt too neat, too clean, and way too convenient. Industry watchers started asking, was this whole thing a setup? Was the event orchestrated as a PR move to spark sympathy? Or was it truly a moment that spun out of control before anyone could stop it? According to one alleged insider, a crisis management firm had been quietly brought in weeks earlier. And this wasn't just any firm. They were known for emotional reframing and celebrity image repair. The supposed plan? Humanize Zegler. Show her cracking under pressure to make her relatable again. But it backfired. Big time. Viewers saw right through the polish. Instead of feeling empathy, the public felt more resentment. One viral comment read, "She's crying because people finally said what we were all thinking." Another simply said, "Too little, too late." Every attempt to spin the story only made the divide deeper. Rather than softening her image, the campaign came off as manipulative. And in some circles, it was viewed as even more offensive than the original Meltdown. And just when her team thought things couldn't possibly get worse, the internet made sure they did. The online world didn't just react, it erupted. As clips of Zegler's breakdown spread across X, TikTok, and YouTube, it lit a cultural firestorm that split the public in half. On one side were those who felt vindicated, saying the actress had been arrogant, disrespectful, and totally out of touch with the fan base that once adored her. These weren't just random critics. No way. They were former fans, Disney loyalists, even entertainment commentators who had grown fed up with what they saw as pure entitlement. She mocked us for months. One tweet with over 100,000 likes said exactly that. Now she finally heard how people feel. Memes followed fast. Clips of the booing were edited right into compilations of Zegler's past interviews, creating a full-blown timeline of her downfall. It looked like a tragic TV character arc, except this was real life. But not everyone was cheering. Another wave of voices pushed back hard. They argued that no one, no matter how disliked, deserves to be publicly humiliated like that. Influencers, actors, media personalities all started chiming in. Some called the backlash straight-up cyberbullying. Others warned of a dangerous trend, where modern fandoms can't tell the difference between fair criticism and full-on cruelty. One viral post asked, "When did it become normal to show up just to tear someone down?" Mental health advocates joined the convo. Words like mob mentality and emotional trauma were now part of the discussion. Suddenly, Rachel Zegler wasn't just a controversial celeb anymore. She had become a symbol of a much deeper cultural tension. A test case for just how far the public is willing to go when they turn on someone. And right in the center of that storm, one big question hung in the air. Was this her lowest point, or just the beginning of something even worse? Rachel Zegler now stands at a crossroads, and no PR team on earth can walk it for her. After the public breakdown, the boos, and the failed spin attempts, the real question isn't whether her career is in trouble. It's not about whether Rachel Zegler's career is in trouble anymore. It's about whether it can even be saved at all. Hollywood is a wild machine. It builds stars fast, but it burns them even faster. And Zegler's rise from celebrated newcomer to full-blown cultural flashpoint is now a case study on how fast it can all fall apart. But as she sits in the wreckage of what was supposed to be her reign, the real question ain't about her past mistakes anymore. It's about what she does next. Does she go quiet, disappear for a year or more, let the storm pass, and try to stage a carefully timed comeback? Or does she double down again, face the backlash head-on, drop another statement, do a podcast, maybe even cry on camera and hope that showing vulnerability earns her another shot? It's a brutal gamble either way, because right now, Zegler doesn't just have a PR problem, she's got a public trust problem. And rebuilding that kind of trust once it's shattered, that's almost impossible. This backlash wasn't sparked by one bad performance or a single quote out of context. It built up from a slow, painful realization among fans. The person they cheered for didn't seem to like them back. The same audience that helped make her famous felt like they were seen as out of date, uninformed, or flat out not worthy of respect in her eyes. And that disconnect, that's what cut the deepest. When fans feel talked down to, dismissed, or mocked by the very stars they support, it creates a rift that no amount of acting talent can bridge. And let's be clear, Zegler ain't trying to navigate this storm alone in a bubble. She's under the hottest spotlight in Hollywood, and the world is watching to see what she does next. She's part of something way bigger now, a growing wave of resentment against what a lot of folks see as pure performative activism in Hollywood. The kind where studios chase headlines instead of heart, where casting turns into a battleground, and where classic stories get rewritten not to inspire, but just to provoke. Fair or not, Rachel Zegler has become a lightning rod for all those frustrations. Now her name is shorthand for the backlash against Disney's live-action overhaul machine. And when fans booed her, they weren't just booing one actress. They were booing an entire industry's choices. So, what does a comeback even look like in this climate? For starters, silence might be her only friend right now. The internet forgets fast, but only if you stop feeding it. Every new comment, every tweet, every staged photo op, it just reopens wounds that haven't even started healing. A proper hiatus could give the chaos time to cool off. Let the next controversy roll in. Let the noise shift somewhere else. But when she does return, and she will, that's where things get complicated. Because when Rachel Zegler comes back, she'll need way more than just a script. She'll need a full-blown strategy that doesn't just reintroduce her, it redefines her completely. And that means one thing: humility. Real humility. Not the polished corporate kind with vague statements about learning and growing. If she ever faces the backlash head-on, it's gotta be raw. Honest! Vulnerable! And it can't feel like just another round of damage control. That might mean doing something unscripted, like a raw podcast, where she finally opens up about the pressure, the backlash, and the real toll it all took on her. Not as some staged performance, but as a person. Because here's the truth, the public can forgive a lot, but only if they feel like they're finally seeing the real deal, not another act. Then there's the question of roles. And for Zegler, what she chooses next could either make or break her. She can't keep playing that same old empowered rebel archetype in more studio reboots. That'll only remind people of the version of her they already rejected. If she wants to win folks back, she's gotta surprise them. Maybe something indie, something small, raw, intimate. A role that shows depth, contradictions, even fragility. Something where she's not the loudest person in the room, but the most quietly human. And if she nails it? If the performance feels real, unfiltered, even a little uncomfortable, that's when the public might start to soften. But of course, all this hinges on whether the studios are even willing to take that risk. Because right now, Zegler's name carries baggage. Big time. Financial baggage. Reputation baggage. Theaters are nervous. Investors are watching close. And sure, Hollywood loves a good redemption story. But it only invests in the ones it thinks will sell. That's why some industry insiders believe Zegler may have no choice but to pivot hard, away from leading roles, and into smaller supporting parts, just to rebuild some credibility. Some think she could take the streaming route, drop a surprise project on Netflix or Amazon, and bypass the box office entirely. No press tours, no big expectations, straight to the audience. Others say the influencer path is wide open, something many disgraced celebs lean into. But for Zegler, who built her name as an actor first, going full lifestyle YouTuber or TikTok creator could just water down what little brand power she's got left. The smarter move might be to stay quiet for now, work behind the scenes, and slowly build a new version of herself, one that doesn't rely on corporate Disney sparkle or headline-grabbing interviews. And yet, no matter what the strategy is, one thing's undeniable. Rachel Zegler's story is far from over. Love her or hate her, people are still watching, still talking, still waiting to see what she does next. And in Hollywood, that kind of attention, even the negative kind, still equals power. And power means possibility. Yes, she's been cast out, mocked, booed on stage. But if she can learn from it, if she owns that pain instead of trying to bury it, there's a slim, brutal chance she could flip the whole narrative. Not with force, not with PR, but by showing the one thing the public hasn't seen from her yet: realness, flaws, humanity. In a world full of polished, carefully managed celebs, sometimes the most radical move is to just be honest. But if Rachel Zegler can't or won't make that shift, then she's not staring down a comeback. She's staring at erasure. Hollywood has zero patience for long-term controversy. The spotlight doesn't dim, it moves. And right now, it's already starting to turn away. Whether she follows it back or fades into the shadows, that's up to her. And if you want to keep up with all the biggest celebrity rises and falls, don't miss a beat. Hit that subscribe button now for more right here on Fame Feast.